Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. But let me share with us real quick, and we can just do the lab real quick for those two because those will be like big ones for us to quickly just touch. Then we'll do for data security also. All right, let me share my screen. You know what? All right. So I'm going to start with the data protection impact assessment. I'll quickly do a presentation on it real quick. Then after that, we'll do a quick one on data security also, so that when we do the assessment, it will it will all add up. All right, let's quickly start with the data protection real quick. You'll notice you cannot chat for a few seconds. All right, let's quickly just talk about it. Then it's going to be very brief. Then we jump into the actual work. Okay. All right, let's talk about this. So, what does it entail with the data protection impact assessment? It's really a systematic process to evaluate privacy risk when handling personal data. So, the example I gave, if you are doing clinical research, you're handling personal data of your patients or your subject, then we have to do a DPIA. So, we have to identify the activities, what data are we collecting, what is the types of data, how do we map the data itself, what is the legal basis for collection of the data, what's the consenting process around it also. So, is it legitimate? What is the fair handling process in terms of transparency? Then what's the life cycle, you know, meaning from the collection of my data to the deletion. Remember again, everybody wants your data, and you might be asking me why. No big deal, no big deal. There's a reason Alphabet, Google parent company, is valued at $1 trillion. There's a reason Apple is valued at close to $1 trillion plus too. There's a reason. They are data company, really. At the end of the day, there's a reason any company that has huge tons of data always win. They lead. So the question is, data is money. It's as gold as it comes because you can mine anything. It's crazy. It's creepy. 2 days ago, I talked about Harvard with a friend, and you will not believe it. The evening, I talked about Harvard with this person in the afternoon. The evening, I started seeing Harvard on my feed. It was kind of creepy, and I knew what happened, right? But yeah, what kind of coincidence is that? On all my feeds, everything was Harvard, 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 Harvard. So I was thinking, oh, sure. So the point is that the data is so important. So we're saying, okay, I need to know how do you collect my data? How do you delete it ultimately? What's the life cycle of that data? Risk identification. Every collection data point, we need to know where's our data collected, where is it going to. If I'm a phone service or carrier, you collect my data, and you have a third party that subscribe to Hulu satellite radio, and suddenly those guys start reaching out to me because I signed a consent form that I didn't even read, right? But the collection point is not just your carrier, because you've consented to third party folks. Now they are sharing your data with those third party too, so we can spot for potential vulnerability. Another thing is cataloging, you know. So cataloging means we have to systematically document all of those risks also and say, okay, based on this, these are the risks we think is applicable to this data point. Naturally, risk assessment is also important. We know what that is already. So we have to understand what's the impact, the probability, then what is the overall risk for your business in general. Mitigation strategy, what's our plan to prevent this risk in the long term, right? In general. Stakeholder consultation, the appropriate stakeholders like legal. How do we deal with the laws around privacy, compliance in general, your IT department, your executive leadership, then the subject, the that provides that has the actual privacy concern themselves. So that's also a big one out there. Documentation and reporting, we can agree at the end of the day, your leadership wants to see the reporting and documentation ultimately. Review and approval process, in our case, also we're thinking of how do we present findings to the privacy officer, receiving feedback, revising the plan, and ultimately getting approval from your leadership also. Monitoring and review is going to be always an ongoing thing. For your privacy controls, we want it to be something that is continuously monitored. Some will do it quarterly, annually, updating of policy yearly also, but ultimately there should be a process to continuously monitor your privacy concern, especially when there are regulations that changes. For example, if you all notice with, I believe 853 add version revision 3, was it that one that had revision 3? But one of them had revision 3, right? So you're going to check if there have been changes so that we can update based on that change. So that's the point around it. So monitoring is not just monitoring our own control, but also those leading practice we benchmark with so that we can add them to our controls too, if there's a new addition out there as a best practice. Training and integration, I think we can agree for every environment, we need to keep training around what are the new compliance requirement out there for privacy. If you're dealing with European Union, GDPR, California, CCPA, Canadian Fed, PIPEDA, for I believe, is it Brazil that has LGBT? So depending on your location, you have to make sure you're in compliance with those privacy concern also. Okay, so that's really the gist, quick high level gist around the um oh, thank you, Date. Yeah, it's revision 3, you're right. Oh, no, no, okay. That was for, you're right. 61, that was for the incident response. 800, yeah, that was for NIST 861 revision 3. So that was for the incident response, yeah. So I think the 853, I'm not sure what revision, but always remember, and this is where your knowledge base is just different. Like I mentioned in the past, I didn't have that firm foundation to learn quick to understand. I would have just said 861. I would not have added revision 3 because I thought 861, that's it. Well, for each one of them, there's a revision because there are new updates all the time. So which revision are we talking about, right? Very important too. So thank you, Dati. All right, so that's for the data protection impact assessment. Let me just touch data security real quick, then we jump into the actual assessment. Security is our stronghold. So this one is going to be straightforward. This is really technically cyber, but at least we understand for anything data, there are three things that comes to your mind. If you don't mind, can we all type this? Anything data in your mind, I need you all to tell me data at rest, sleeping. Okay? If you don't mind, can we go? Let's go. Anytime data comes to your mind, just quickly type this. Data at rest. Thank you. Then let's type data in use. Data in use. Then type data in transit. As you can imagine, data at rest means, okay, you just save a data somewhere. You want to make sure nobody just goes in and steal our data. Easy. Data in use, you're working on the data, cleaning up, changing, making edits. You want to make sure nobody still comes in and steal the data. The data in transit, I'm sending a mail, I'm sending through interfaces back and forth. How do we make sure nobody steals our data? So those will be three areas from data perspective most of the time, right? Data at rest, data in transit, data in use. So it's a common thing you hear people say in a meeting or industry. So when you hear it, don't, it's not a big deal. All they are saying is that that data is stored somewhere, or is being used, or is being sent. So that's really what it is, okay?